Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and I've just got it started on an Okuma Diesel bait feeding reel, and you can join me in progress here. I wasn't planning on filming this one, but what happened was I got into this and realized this is a bait feeder and I don't have the schematics for it, so I want to go ahead and take my pictures, which is what I like to advise everybody to do. And I like to do it on a video so I don't get lost with that, and that's what I'm doing here. So I thought I would share this with you while I did it. So this is your diesel. Kind of looks. Let's kind of go back and just kind of review what we did here. I took the spool off. I took the little click rotor that's on the axle shaft, and I also went in and service the drag washers on this in addition to cleaning it. The drag washers are felt, and when you remove that C-clip, that felt washer will require oil. Oil is the best way to keep those felt washers clean. Alright, I'm going to take this off. This is a reverse thread in that it comes off in a clockwise manner, and then we'll be able to remove the top here. And this is a very traditional, old school, if you will, anti-reverse. It's got an eccentric spring, it's got your anti-reverse dog, and it's got teeth underneath the rotor here. And this dog, when it's engaged, what will happen is you'll be running the reel, and then once you stop, it's going to push that out. It needs a little oiling there, but it's going to push that out. And that push out is going to engage with the teeth and the, there we go, it's getting a little bit freer. It'll engage with the, there we go. So now we can see, it's amazing what penetrating oil does, right? When it flips out this way, the tooth is going to grab the ridges here, and that's what's going to be your anti-reverse. And this one was kind of stuck in anti-reverse override, which we have as well. Alright, so I'd like to just kind of put it in the override mode for when I go put the spool back in. But we got that off, and the reason why we took that off is this is what I call a through case. You have to take that rotor off to remove the case. I just took the nut off the bottom here. This should just be able to pull out. I'm a little bit concerned because it's an old reel. And when you get those old reels, sometimes this plastic gets a little tight, and if it gets tight, it can snap. So let's kind of hope a little bit here that we can get this out without causing any damage here. I don't know when this reel was made. I know it's been quite some time. And the reason why I know it's been quite some time is I bought a parts lot from a store that closed quite a few years ago now. And that parts store had a bin of broken reels, parts reels. And among them was the Diesel bait feeder reel. There we go. Alright, well, we were able to get that off without much harm, without any harm. And of course, as I mentioned, you need to get that off in order for the case to separate. There you go. It's a good place to take the pictures. Remember what side that little stud is on. And make sure that that gets nice and clean. Okay, there's 4 screws then. And Lord only knows what's going on underneath this case here, which is why I'm taking those pictures. This is a Phillips-headed screwdriver, and I'm just going to lay these on the table as I want to do, and that'll tell me if we have a different screw size in the case. Now, bait feeders are getting harder and harder to find people to repair them. They just take a lot of time. They're full of surprises, and most time if they break underneath, you can't get parts for them. So fewer and fewer people are doing that these days. So a cautionary word. Having said that, if you like bait feeders, then go ahead, get one. They are fun to fish. Just trying to crack open the case now. And I suspect that I would need to remove that. So there's nothing here. This is a rubber cap, and it should just pull off like it just did. I'm just checking underneath here to make sure now. Now we should be able to get that case off. My hands are kind of full with the penetrating oil that I was using before. We just need to work it up off of this assembly here. And what we have now is we've got this main gear stuck in the case now. So I'm just going to go ahead and flush that down, let it sit, and we'll come back to this. Okay, it's been sitting about 15 minutes now, and penetrating oil is one of those things. It's just one of those wonders of mankind. We're just going to pull, and there you go. So it has separated. There's some rust in here. You want to check this burring. Also a little gasket that goes on here. We'll get to that. Burring's working. There you go. So I'm going to repack that burring. Use some grease. I didn't get to test this reel. It didn't come with a handle, so I was really asked just to fix the bail, but you know me, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it all the way. Alright, then we have a little shim washer that goes on that bearing. Then we have our drive mechanism here, which is holding the little click ratchet that's going to reset when we roll this. And I think next up then would be the pin here. There should be a little bit of a kind of a forked washer here. There we go. Forked pin. Note how it comes out. There's two sides to everything. This one looks like it can go in either way, so that's not a problem. I'm going to be able to pull up now on the axle shaft. Get that out of the way. I'm going to take my steel wool with this, and I'm going to just kind of get the old grease off. It seems like it's in pretty good condition. Now, you can remove this if you like. We're going to see if we can remove the main gear without that. The more pieces on the bait feeder you kind of leave where they belong, the better. Well, didn't matter, the spring came off anyway. Alright, the main gear is out. There's a bearing up top here I neglected to mention. This is all kind of really seen better days in terms of a wheel. I can't imagine it was in service before. Just going to clean the dirt off that bearing. I'm going to oil this one. We're going to come in from underneath and oil. Well, take it out. There's two screws that hold this on. This is why I take pictures. I've got things starting to accumulate on my desk. I'm going to make sure that they get over into my parts tray here. I'm using the bottom of a milk jug for my parts tray. You leave too many things on your table, and the next thing that happens generally is that something gets knocked to the floor. Noticing on this was the one that has that eccentric spring on it, and the spring is on the top side. And I don't know why I thought that would be an easy task, but it's not. So we're going to do the same thing here, and we'll come back on this. I'll load that bearing up with some penetrating oil, and we're going to sit on it. Okay, we're back again. Good thing I drink a lot of coffee, because that gave me the opportunity to go for some coffee. It's been sitting there. We to recap, we've took the screws out, we've hit both sides with some penetrating oil. Now hopefully we'll be able to pull it up. That was easy. So you can see that there's some scarring or some accumulated dirt or some rust. Not sure which one it is. Let's try and get this off. Oh, that's not coming off. I'm going to think that the race itself, the inner race, is frozen to this, and I'm not going to mess with that. What I am going to do, though, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing we just did with the other one. We'll do as best as we can. We're going to flood that with grease. And again, if it was something I could get off, I probably would oil it. But in this case, I think we're just going to repack with grease. All right, I'm checking the teeth on the actual pinion drive gear. Those look good, so let's go ahead and grease that up as well. Get a little bit on the stud where that's going to ride, and let's just go put that right back into the assembly after we clean the track where we just pulled it out of. All right, that's clean. Let's go ahead and reinstall. There we go. We're reinstalled. Get those two screws that are holding this down. Put them back in. And when I work on a bait feeder, I like to work in segments. I like to make sure that I address all of one piece or another so that I don't have too many pieces and parts laying on the table at any given time. And I would recommend you do the same. We've already talked about the need to go ahead and do the picture taking, which is kind of how I got this started. Now I'm going to take this eccentric. I'm going to put a little bit of grease on there. I don't think it matters here, but we will. And then you'll notice there's a fork in this piece right here. There's a prong piece. That's where the spring from this assembly is going to go, just like that. And we'll give it a test while I get the override on right now. Give it a test just to make sure that it's operating the way it should. Perfect. And put the override back on. All right, one more piece under here. Well, there's two. There's several. But let's go ahead and do this. Take that very dry crosswind gear off. Check all the teeth. Make sure that they're in good condition. And we want to do the same thing we just did with the pinion gear. Get a good amount of grease onto the teeth. You don't have to get it in every one, but enough. Get it on the face of the gear. Get it behind the gear. When you go to put that crosswind gear back in, go ahead and put it low so that you can grab the stud with the track in here and make sure that it's able to clear the main gear when you go to put the main gear back in. Okay, I've cleaned the crosswind block. We'll do a little bit extra grease on this. It's going to slide on that crosswind gear, so we already got a good amount there, but let's just get some in the track here so that when the stud is riding on it, we're in good stead. And we do the same thing with the main the bearing in the back here. We're just going to overload that with grease as well. Then we can come in, clean our main gear. So what's happening with this reel is this reel hasn't been serviced in quite some time. It's got a lot of old grease where it does have grease and a lot of dried grease where it doesn't. And check the teeth on the secondary gear, which is going to drive the crosswind block, and check the teeth on the main gear, and then do what we've been doing before. A couple of good spots of grease along the way. And I am using a Penn Precision reel grease for this. And again, I really don't care too much about what the brand is, but I do care that it is a fishing reel grease. All right, that's done there. Go ahead and take our main gear then. Now I want to see how difficult it's going to be for me to take that spring. I'm probably going to have to come in the other way, I'm thinking. So I'm just going to pull that spring off right now so that I can, there's a little hook kind of a, let's see if I can do it this way. This is why folks don't like working on bait feeders. I don't mind it, but it's just from a productivity standpoint, you can do several reels when you can do one bait feeder, so a lot of folks shy away from them. And a lot of people just aren't up for the challenge of it. They'll give you all kinds of reasons why they don't want to work on it. But at the end of the day, it's probably a preference. I do what I should have done earlier and just take this off. So, okay, there was a little wrestling going on there, but I'm just down to tightening that final screw there. That spring is annoying. That's why I tried to leave it together. It didn't work out that way anyway, but such is life. And then we're going to next put we've got the top loaded in. We've just completed assembling that axle shaft. Now you want to put the case on. Make sure that the gasket is properly aligned on the side of the case here. There's a couple of studs that hold it on. I want to make sure that they're all in there. Because if you don't get them on the case, you're going to have a problem with the way that the screws go in to mount it, and it's going to disrupt the water seal. All right, that should be good. We'll go in here now and just try to load that on. You're going for 2. Okay, I had to take my glove off. The oils on there were getting a little tough, but there you go. We've got it in. And next step up before I go to the top end then is I want to put these side plate screws right back in. There was 4 of those. And they're Phillips head. So this is not an unusual setup for Okuma, even though the brand reads Diesel as opposed to some of their other ones like the Coronado and that. It's very similar in terms of the design, which I guess is why I got a little comfort feeling there with this in terms of taking it apart, because it really isn't that different, the reel. And you'll find that with most of the manufacturers. They don't then they change the names, the models, the looks, the cosmetics behind it. You know, this change the color scheme on the reel, but the reel itself, for the most part, doesn't change much. All right, rotor can go on now. Remember, this was a clockwise takeoff, so it's a counterclockwise to the off position. I like to hand tighten that first. Probably all you've seen is my hand. And then just finish that turn with the wrench. And the only thing left in my parts tray there is a handle for the bait trip flip. Rubber cap for the bottom, which I'm going to press that on right now. Give it a spin. There you go. Look at that. Working beautifully. Let's go get that bait trip on. Work to one side, bring it over. And again, gentle, because it's plastic, and if it's aged and if it hasn't been working very well, you need to be kind of tender with it. we're in the off position now, so that should just spin, which is what it's doing. If we go to the on position, it should trip. On. Well, we haven't done anything there, but there you go. It's working that way. Spin it to trip it. And we've locked down. This one just came off again. I'm going to do the same thing here. Sometimes it just gets caught with the grease and all. And sometimes that penetrating oil is enough to just kind of loosen it up. Also noticing that there's ridges that you got to kind of align. And you should be good there. Okay. Click ratchet. Spool shim. Notice that there's a little dirt I didn't get when I did the cleaning in here. So go ahead and get that done. Spool. Tension washer. Tension knob. And we're going to do what was asked of us to do when this reel came in, which was make sure that the bail works, and I previously serviced that. I do apologize that I came in at midpoint, but I did want to make sure. Okay, here's the issue that came in with. Does the bail trip? And the bail trips easily. Now what I did was I had to take that apart, oil it, and clean it up, and put it back together again. Clean the washers, so now we have a nice tight drag, and one more time when it's in the on position, the bait feeder will spool out, and as soon as you go to spin, that locks up, which is what we're doing here. So that's it. That's the Okuma Diesel reel. It's a 55 size, I think. You saw how it's made, you saw how to service it, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you did, please like it. If you want to see more, please subscribe. If you do go and subscribe, please hit the notification button. That way you won't miss the postings that I put up there, whether you're interested in seeing all of the reels or just a few of them. You'll at least know what's being posted, and I try to post on a regular basis, that is every day. So if you have a question, please leave it in the comments section. And finally, if you have a reel that needs to be serviced or repaired, well, I do that by mail as well, and I'll be happy to provide you with that information. Simply shoot me an email, secondchancetackle@gmail.com. It's on the business card that follows, and I'll be happy to provide you with that information. So this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thank you for watching.